Today on Beyond the Sketch, I've got a guest who's not just leading conversations in the insurance world, but on global stages. Bryan Falchuk is a TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and the president and CEO of PLRB, the trade organization supporting carriers across the country. Bryan, welcome to Beyond the Sketch.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Thanks for the intro.
I did my best on the introduction, but in your own words, what could you tell the audience about who you are and what perspective you bring to the conversation?
Sure. Yeah. So I think you summed it up really well in terms of like the professional background. But I mean, if you look at it, I spent like 25 years in P&C, and most of that has been on the carrier side. And then I flipped over to the insurtech side. And so I've sort of been on like both sides of that equation, the traditional player, and then at, more of a free thinking kind of push the needle forward kind of place, selling into a traditional area or traditional market. And that was invaluable perspective on what's possible, where we struggle, and how we can overcome that. And that's really where like the book series and honestly the work I do at PLRB is all focused on. Is I think it's an incredibly important industry. Yes, we put lives back together, but we enable them in the first place, because you can't do anything if risk, pulls the rug out from under you at every turn. So that's what insurance is about. And I think it's important to stand by that industry and make sure it's here for the long haul and successful. So that's that's what I get to do every day. And it's actually a really fun and purposeful way to live your life.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely going to talk about a lot of insurance on this podcast, but I wanted to start out with something fun. You've been known to Photoshop yourself onto stages, including the TED stage, which
Yep.
you've spoken on TEDx. I'm thinking at least 3 times and
3
counting.
times, yeah.
Have you ever heard of the law of attraction?
Yes.
It's almost like you put it out there and then you attracted it, but it
It's
has
totally
many
what
names.
happened. Yeah. And
Okay.
actually, that was sort of one of the TEDx's I did, was to ask for what you really want, because worst case scenario, you just still don't have it. But there's really no downside other than whatever self-judgment you put on yourself. And so, yes, I had in that TEDx, I had that image I made of myself on the big TED stage, which I've still not spoken on. And I was like, what's the math of like how many TEDx's add up to be equal to the big one? The answer is infinite. So it's still not happened. But the other image that I showed is I photoshopped my head onto Joel Osteen's head in the woods on a sofa with Oprah. And that was the other thing, is like I put out my first book before the Future of Insurance series. And I was like, what if Oprah finds this and puts it on her like, holiday must read kind of list. And so that was like putting that out there. And it's funny, the TEDx one, like everyone sort of cheered me on when I put that out, and they're like, oh yeah, you can do it and it'd be so great. And when I put out the Oprah one, it was mostly just laughter, and it wasn't with me. But I didn't care. And obviously, like, the joke was like, I'm still waiting for her to call, like her phone must be dead, or, battery ran out or something. But I do think that matters. So like, I have not been on Oprah's show before, and me putting that out there did not suddenly undo anything. It just means I'm just still not on her show. So like, why would we stop ourselves from trying? And so the law of attraction is more about like, put out there what you want and you will manifest it. And I think there's an aspect to that, but the reality is like, we hold ourselves back because of all these like, oh, I'm going to look stupid, or what if I fail, or what if they say no? And but they're not doing it now. They're not supporting you now. You don't have these things now. It's like when people say, oh, I wish I had $1 million. It's like, no. Because that's like after taxes. That's not enough. That's not like retirement money. You're not buying a private island. Like I used to throw out in response $47.8 million. And people are like, wait, why so specific? And it was more to be funny, but it's like, look, if you're going to ask for something you don't have, like ask for something that's really going to move you to that other place. And like $1 million is great. I'm not against it. But it's not as transformational as you think. Whereas like 47.8 or whatever the number is, like pick the thing that actually gets you to where you want to be and is where you wish your life to be. And that's why, like, as absurd as it was, and granted the photoshopping I did with that Oprah photo was pretty absurd. The point is like, that's actually the full manifestation of what my life must be like if that's where I'm going to end up. And that's why I put it out there. And not like a local TV show. Like that's great, but I was really talking about a certain level of impact and connection that I was going for. And Oprah was just sort of like a symbol of that.
So have you always been the type of person that knows, I have to see it to be it? Was that always in you, or did that come to you like later in life?
No, I definitely was not. I mean, I write about this in my first book. I was very overweight growing up and very overwhelmed by anxiety. So I was the opposite. I always saw not it, whatever it was, I saw the opposite of it. Like everything was impossible and too much. And it really was a kind of a huge wake up moment for myself. Again, I've shared this quite a bit, but my wife had some major health issues, and I got the call from her doctor that she wasn't going to make it back in 2011, and she did make it. He was wrong, but that, we had a 2-year-old at the time. Like that really just reframed my entire perspective on my life, and was sort of that not even kick in the pants, like kick in the head that I needed. That's when things really started to change for me.
That's a great segue into your book, Do a Day, because obviously you mentioned that
What
in
it's
the
about.
book. So, yes. So what does Do a Day, and I don't want to give the book away where, everybody go on Amazon, purchase this, read it for yourself. So if we were to do high level overviews, are you able to give like a definition of what
for
does
sure.
this mean?
And I have no problem giving the books away. Like the economics of selling books it doesn't matter if I sell it or not. I don't care. The point of writing it was not to make the 47.8 million. It was to have the impact. So I'm happy to give it away. And it's, in a nutshell, it's an approach to get to this. But the notion is, in every day, all we can do is the best we can to move ourselves towards what we want in that day. And whether we did that yesterday doesn't matter. And whether we will do that or have so much more to do tomorrow also doesn't matter. And, I mentioned I was really overweight. I had 100 pounds to lose for a very long time. And every day that was such a crushing amount that I never started, because it's like, you can kill yourself and just go nuts in the gym and not eat anything. And like all these things, spend the entire day in a sauna or like whatever it is. And you know what? The next day, you still probably have 99 pounds to lose. And you're looking at like what I just put myself through. I'm basically no closer to my goal. I can't do this. It's too much. But it's like you don't climb to the top of a mountain in one step. It's a series of steps. And I'm sure those people who climb Everest, I'm very afraid of heights, so I will never know what this is like. But, when they're at base camp, like you look up, and as amazing it might be, as experienced as they may be, that's still a daunting height and in a tremendous feat ahead of them. And they don't know if they're going to make it. Most people actually don't. They don't make it to the top.
Guess what? SketchMyRoof is now integrated with Verisk. That means you never have to leave your estimating software. You can order your measurements directly in Xactimate or Xactanalysis. What are you waiting on? Email us at verisk@sketchmyroof.com to enable the integration today.
So that's kind of what Do a Day is about, is like, we're not climbing to the top in this moment. And it's very easy to get pulled away from that. And I think pretty much everybody, no matter what your outlook was, had moments of that during COVID. Whether it was about getting sick, whether it was about losing your job, losing loved ones, losing yourself, whatever it was, there was an overwhelm of anxiety that everyone was struck with. And we didn't have to do all of those things all at once. We just had to do what we had to do in this moment. And that's the whole reason why we're still here today. So yeah, it's a reframing of the challenges and kind of the hardships of getting to where you want to get. And Brittany, I'll let you in on a secret. All 5 of my books, the ones that are explicitly self-help, and then the 3 future of insurance ones, and even the 4th one that a friend of mine wrote, they're all self-help books. It's just the self is different. Like the future of insurance books are kind of the same as Do a Day, in the sense that they're, instead of like a weight loss journey, it's an innovation journey. And instead of like, well, I love donuts and I don't have time to work out, it's, we've got IT constraints and regulation, and they're barriers to getting where you need to get to, no matter what. So all of my work is actually framed in the same kind of mindset of like, how can we do better despite all the challenges that we face? And the answer is shockingly the same, even if the specifics within that answer are a little bit different.
So how can applying like a do-to-day principle help someone that's in a high-pressure role, help them to perform better or to not burn out?
Yeah, I mean, I run a company right now, and I face this plenty of times. We just got our health insurance renewals, and You can read front page of a lot of newspapers the past couple of weeks has been 15% is the average increase across the whole industry. And like, that's a lot. That's a lot for the company to take on. That's a lot for staff to take on. That starts impacting whether there's budget for raises, I mean, a lot of things. You will keep getting thrown moments like that. Tough employees, competition doing something, a regulator stands in your way, like whatever it might be. And I mean, these firefighting moments that you have, that's the job. And so many of them will seem like too much. You certainly will wish you didn't have to deal with them, but you do, and you will, and you wouldn't be where you are if you hadn't done that a gazillion times over before. So taking each one in stride and remind yourself, like, this is not forever. I have been through tough things before. I will get through this, and I don't have to solve all of these things all at once. Like, we didn't have to get to the other side of the whole health insurance thing. We had to like understand first step is like, okay, well, we need to see what are the actual economics for it. What does it mean for our staff? What does it mean for us? What's the budget impact? Before we start reacting like, oh my God, we have to find another plan and it's not going to be as good. And okay, but we're not doing all of that right now. Right now, there's a specific thing we need to solve for. Let's start there. And that will then bring some clarity to the next step. I talk about it as sort of like walking through the woods when there's like mist and fog. You cannot see way ahead of you, but you can see a few steps in front of you. And with every passing step, you can see the next bit. And that's sort of the notion is, oh, what's out there? And there could be monsters and a cliff. And what if I, or I fall in a river? Like, okay, but you're not stepping off a cliff or falling into a river right now. You just have this bit in front of you. Ultimately there's a destination, but how do you take these next few steps and focus on that? That's what do a day is like, these are the days that are right in front of you. Let's do those before we start catastrophizing about something that might or might not be down the road.
Wow. And so I take that to mean like, just face whatever it is head on.
Yeah.
And it may not be as scary once you start unpacking it.
Yeah. And it's just that. It's not everything that may or may, like, you don't know how that, you're dealing with you don't know if they're going to bring on an attorney and if they're going to be difficult, or they got a public adjuster. You don't know if that public adjuster is going to be difficult or actually be really helpful. Maybe you miss something and they're going to help you get to that. And they have that same mentality of like, we're just trying to be there for the insured in the same way you are. And we're on the same side, which I've seen public adjusters do that too. So like, it doesn't, we sort of expect the worst, and that's the way our brains are wired. And quite frankly, we live in an extremely angering and negative society. So we're being, because you can make money if you get people worked up. So we're all conditioned to be this way. We have the responsibility to ourselves. And as leaders, we have that to everyone who we lead to do better than that.
And you mentioned that all of your books, in some form or fashion, are self-help books. So have you heard stories from readers and it's turned things around for them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've gotten a lot of that through the official self-help books. I've got 2 of them there, and I've had people who reach out, and I did coaching work for a while around that, just sort of like as a side hustle because I enjoyed it. And the ones that stand out to me the most are actually there's 2 people who went on to coach other people. So not only did they really get themselves to a place where they felt great about their lives and they were building what they wanted to build, they also felt like, I need to pay this back. And so that's really cool when you see, someone who's then able to keep extending that out to others. So that, I love that. But I see it on the business side too. And I, recently was at a conference and there was a startup there that's new to the insurance space selling into carriers. And this woman came up to me and she's like, I hope you don't mind. I have your book. Will you sign it? I was like, I think that's wasting the book. Like, you're about to devalue it, but okay. But she's like, I'm new to the space. I didn't really understand a lot of the nuances. This really helped me understand like what's on the other side of the table. Who is it that I'm selling to? What are they looking at, dealing with? How can I be better for them to navigate it? And I hear that with, you have a podcast tied to the books too, where we've got different leaders who come on from across different carriers and parts of the industry. And they're like, we sort of use it to teach our staff, what is it to be in the insurance industry? How do you sell into it? How do you support it, more importantly? And so it's been, people who are like learning how to do better in the industry. And that's really cool to hear too.
Yes. So something that stood out to me, and I wanted to dig into the power of asking, why that's so important to you, and if there's an insurance tie where it helps you to be okay with asking for something.
Oh, So I mean, it's not exactly what you were asking, but it's like, there's a question we always get to in any change or any new thing we want to do in insurance. And it tends to be no. And there's this very unhealthy us versus them mentality in carriers, brokers, like take your pick. And I feel like we do that to ourselves. So I love seeing it when it's more cohesive. And quite frankly, like it's the same with IT. What you find is the other departments are referred to by the department name, like pejoratively. So it's like, well, IT this and IT that and compliance. So I'm like, who's compliance? Who is IT? That is like, they sound like a terrible person. Like it's not a person. And I'm sure in IT, it's like, oh, the business is doing this. So when I hear people talk about build versus buy, and then they start like talking about, well, IT, this and that, I was like, well, if you can't get along with IT, why do you think it's any different with a vendor? And if you can't get along with a vendor, why do you think it'd be better with IT? Like, you got to look at yourself in this too. So like, how are you as a customer? I think we're very bad customers in the insurance industry on the business side, whether that's internal or external. So we gotta look at ourselves and how we're willing to engage with others when we do that asking, or effectively we're not asking, we're just going to butt heads and then be angry, and eventually it gets up to the CEO who has to like pick a side. That's a really bad way to run a business. So it's not. I feel like it's not exactly what you asked, but it's sort of like this notion of needing that approval, or if you will. The way we navigate that, I think, is really problematic.
Okay. And then beyond like the books and the personal philosophy, you're also the president and CEO of PLRB.
Yep.
And I'm familiar with the conference. We go every year and exhibit there. So can you tell us more about PLRB, its mission, and things that I'm probably not even scratching the surface on by just going to the conference or utilizing the Hell Map feature?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the first one on the head. Is when people say PLRB, they generally think it's a conference, and it's not an organization that puts on several conferences and then does a bunch of other stuff. So yes, we do a lot, but we do have this one particular conference called the Claims Conference that is like 3,000 to 4,000 people. It's big. So yeah, I mean, I make a joke that my first one, I sent my wife a photo from the expo hall when it was being set up, and there's like cranes and rigging. I mean, it's huge. And she just texted back and she was like, I didn't realize your job was like a real thing. I was like, oh, wow, thank you. That's both really kind about how big this looks and really offensive about, I don't know, insurance or whatever. But yeah, so we do have this big conference, and we have 3 others. One is very catastrophe, like large loss, complex claims focused, and the other 2 are sort of mini versions of the big kind of general one. And they're all education focused. So they're all where we have classes and interactive sessions for people to get C credits for adjusters, but also kind of learn about the evolving ways that we have to handle claims and what tools might be out there. So that's one piece of it. And as a complement to that, we also have a huge online database, about 1,000 classes in it. Where you can, do the stuff through distance learning, and we grant C credits as well, and we handle all that for our members. But yeah, that's one of 4 parts of PLRB. You mentioned the hail maps. We've got pretty extensive weather mapping solutions, analytics mapping. You can get them through APIs, hail, lightning, whatever, because that matters in property claims. It's like, well, this person's saying that they, a tree got struck by lightning and fell in their house. Was there lightning in the area, or was there hail? And what was the size of the hail? And does that add up? Very helpful to have those facts on hand, or for your planning, your underwriting, and your CAT modeling and whatnot. Like, we've got all that data consumable, and you can overlay your PIF count and see like where are our houses and where's this stuff as well. We have, similarly, we have that with building codes. So building codes are actually pretty tricky to get, and to get accurately is like what jurisdiction, which authority has jurisdiction for this particular property. So we have an algorithm that helps sort that out and then pulls the codes back. And you can get, an address report that gives you the details and the drip edge and what's required and all these sorts of things, which is really valuable when you've got an adjuster trying to figure out, what do we have to do to put this house back together or repair the damage? We've got a contractor who might be saying something different. Who's right? And it doesn't mean the carrier's right, doesn't mean the contractor is. There may be an answer out there, and we need to bring clarity to that and do the right thing. I used to run a team that did a lot of liability insurance. This stuff actually came up quite frequently, not on the property insurance side, but like we had someone who fell off a balcony because the railing gave way. Was the railing built to code? Like, that's a liability question. You don't think about that with building codes, hail, whatever. You think it's just the physical damage, but actually it comes up with liability as well. And then last, we have a team of coverage attorneys who will actually look at your claim, your policy wording, the endorsements. Like, well, the policy says this, but the endorsement says that. Which one wins out? What's the case law here? And we don't give you an official coverage opinion, but we'll give you that legal analysis and bring back the case law and help you sort out what does that all mean. And maybe it saves you having to spend on coverage counsel, or maybe it lets you spend that money knowing you can be a better client to them. Like, we understand this is what's going on, and you get that answer more efficiently and effectively from them. And all that's free and unlimited for our members, which are P&C carriers in the U.S. We've got about 2/3 of the market are members of PLRB. And they can access that, go to our conferences, all for free. So that's, for their membership, but it's all included. So it's a pretty cool offering. And
Wow.
I know a number of chief claims officers who said, like, they wouldn't be where they are if not for PLRB. And that was kind of the deciding factor for me when I had the job offers. Like, yeah, this is important. I think I should join.
Speaking about your leadership, what excites you the most about where PLRB is headed now that you're involved?
Yeah, I mean, it's that notion that I got from some friends of mine was really critical. That's an important place to be, and I think speaks to the value of it for the industry. That would be a shame to lose. And with, we talk a lot about the graying of the industry. I'm a part of that. If you look at the top of my head, but there's also this retirement cliff in the industry. Well, what about the next generation of adjusters? And I wouldn't say we've solved the recruiting problem, but recruiting has gotten better. The problem is we're not keeping people because it's tough work. It's very upsetting work. It's like you're looking at the worst things that happen to people. And quite often you're getting treated adversarially in the process because they assume you're there to screw them over and not stand by. Just didn't thank you. So that's tough work. And I think a lot of people give up. So what can we as an organization do to support that next generation? The same is true for folks like yourself on the solution and service provider side. Like, this is a tough spot to be in, but it's very important. So it's critical for me that we evolve with the needs of those we serve and not just a generation that is retiring. And I'd say the biggest thing we've done as an org is really embrace a growth mindset and trying to see how can we innovate and evolve ourselves and our offering to our members and hear what they're saying they need from us so we can respond so that, 10, 20 years from now, my successor does those same kind of calls I did when they have a job offer from this place and they're hearing the same thing, that I wouldn't be where I am if not for PLRB. That takes a willingness to evolve what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I will say in the just about 3 years since I joined, I don't think we've done enough or gone too fast. I think we've gone too slow. My team thinks we've done too much and gone too fast, and the board's really happy in the middle.
Well, just as a quick change of pace, we're going to play a quick game that we call our versus round. So I'll give you two options. It'll be like a this versus that.
Okay.
So kind of think of it like a claims decision. You make a quick call, or no, in claims you would not make a quick call. You would make a thoughtful call.
Reread the policy, understand
Yes.
the coverage. Yes.
All of that good stuff. So we'll make a decision and then be ready to defend it.
All right. Okay.
So traditional tools versus insurtech startups.
Why do you have to make me pick?
You
it
can
depends.
do both. You can cheat
but I mean,
and say both.
there's different situations. I think there's technologically, like, I would have to say insurtech just because the tech has changed enough that we should have newer, more flexible tools.
The next one is conference networking versus online resources.
What I will say on the conference side is there's a lot of people who go and keep to themselves, and I totally get that. And then they're like, well, that was a waste of time. So, well, if you're, and you see it, I talked to you at your booth at one of these events, and like, you will see people, behind the desk at their booth on their phone looking angry. And then you talk to them and like, nobody comes up. So, well, would you come up to that booth? So I'm for networking in both cases, but if you're going to go to the events, like, as much as I take the stage, I'm actually pretty introverted. I'm nervous to go up to random people and just start chatting them up. So I get it. It's a lot. But then it's like, well, maybe that's the wrong place for you to be doing it. Like, if you go and it's just for the education, the CE credits, whatever, I get it. Like, that's fine. But then don't judge the conference for not having networking opportunities if you weren't willing to seize the day yourself. Like, ask for it, right? The one-on-one is easier for someone who's a bit more constrained or just, feeling uncomfortable going with that cold, like, hi, I'm Brian. I work in insurance. How are you? But they're both valuable just in different ways, and they require different things of you.
Okay. And then the last one, which I kind of would need a definition for me to make my own choice on this.
Okay.
But the subtitle of one of your Future of Insurance books is From Disruption to Evolution. So the last verse is disruption versus evolution.
Yeah. So they're all subtitled that, and I sort of just stopped using it because the title's too long. I'm one for evolution, and evolution can be really disruptive. Without getting religious here, like, we exist because of evolution, and we're pretty disruptive. So, like, versus like dinosaurs, or like, you could say that's disruption because meteor came down, but like, whatever, like, wildly different. I think people hear that playback, like the contra between the two, and think like, oh, that means you're not really changing. You can change dramatically through evolution. The point is, like, you don't have to blow everything up. And the reason I picked that as the subtitle, especially when I was releasing the first book, which I didn't know there'd be others after it when I wrote the first one, was it was a moment of, like, there was a lot of the insurance dinosaur kind of talk. I call the Gen 1 insurtechs like the dinosaur hunters. Like, oh, these idiots in insurance, they're all stupid, they're all slow, they're incapable. We're going to come in and we're going to blow this place up, and we're just going to eat their lunch. And that kind of didn't happen. It didn't happen. There's been some really cool ideas and some new thinking, but I can't say the industry was disrupted, like, turned on its head. Nor should it have been. So I think we can evolve dramatically. We actually have amazing people. We can do better with the folks that we have. Someone just asked me yesterday, when you came into PLRB, did you change all the leadership? And I said, no. Like, we've made lots of changes, and we did it with the people that we have, not just the leadership. The staff is largely the same staff. We've added to it. We've had some folks who've moved on, but largely the same. That's evolution. And that's great.
Yes.
You can do amazing things through evolution.
Awesome. And I'm going off the rails and off the script here, but when you were mentioning evolution and dinosaurs, so I own a parrot. He's a Hans macaw. And I found out that, so I thought the dinosaurs were gone, right? And that if any dinosaurs,
You own one.
So you know this already. Yeah. So the birds are the living dinosaurs. So I was asking ChatGPT one day, is he a dinosaur or did he evolve from dinosaurs? And according to ChatGPT, it's like, no, he is a living dinosaur.
That's a recent shift in the thinking. There's a YouTuber named Cleo Abrams who's amazing, and I just found out I'm actually going to get to meet her at an event in a couple weeks, which I'm totally geeking out on. She had an episode about this where she's actually on like a dinosaur dig, and she digs up some bones. But this is what she talks about is, like, actually birds are not evolved from, they are dinosaurs. So yeah, mind-blowing, but super cool. Yeah. So yeah, there you own a dinosaur.
So they're not gone.
No,
we've got insurance, and we've got birds, so the dinosaurs are still here.
So even that wasn't disruption. See? So you think you're going to take down the industry when, like, even dinosaurs are and now they can fly, all of them, and and they can talk.
And some of them I'm scared of.
Yes. Yeah. Fair enough.
As we wrap up, Brian, I like to close with a big picture question. So if you could leave our listeners with just one piece of advice, whether it's for their career, their leadership journey, or their personal journey outside of work, what would that one piece of advice be?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of value in curiosity, and it not only will drive you to seek out interesting things that spark your mind and get you going towards something better, but you can choose to be really curious and ask yourself, well, why am I interested in that? Or why does this feel uncomfortable to me? Why am I interested in those things? Or what are they doing over there? And why is that working? Even if it's not in your space, just be curious about stuff. And when you start learning about other things going on, like birds being dinosaurs, It's just kind of wild. And it like you're making new neuron, like, I don't know, brain chemistry, but like new pathways.
Yes.
And it's a really fun way to live. And you start seeing possibilities in places you never would have found them before. So yeah, just be curious and enjoy what you got.
Well, Bryan, thank you for sharing your story, your philosophy, letting everyone know to stay curious out here, and for sharing your vision for the future of insurance with us today. This is Beyond the Sketch. I'm Brittany Harris, and we'll see you next time.